Welcome to Unspoken Affairs. Have you ever walked into a room expecting one thing, only to discover something that shifted your entire perspective on life? That's exactly what happened to me one night. At first, it felt like such an ordinary moment, but it grew into something that made me question who I was, what I wanted, and what it really means to feel alive again. The house was quiet, wrapped in that deep silence that only settles in late at night. The kind of silence that almost feels alive, humming just beneath the surface. I patted softly across the hardwood floor, guided only by the faint glow spilling from the bathroom down the hall. My heart wasn't heavy, my mind wasn't racing. It was supposed to be simple. Just a good night. Just checking on the guest who had been staying with us for a few days, a longtime family friend who had grown up and moved away, only to find himself back in town again. But the smallest choices often become turning points, don't they? You expect routine, and instead you find change waiting for you on the other side of a door. When I pushed it open, I froze. He was there, sitting quietly at the edge of the bed, his posture calm yet reflective. For a heartbeat, I couldn't move. The light from the bedside lamp cast shadows that made the moment feel surreal, suspended in time. I remembered him as the boy who used to trail mud across my floors after playing outside. The one who always raided my fridge and laughed too loudly at inside jokes with my family. But the person who turned to look at me that night wasn't a boy anymore. His gaze was steady in a way I didn't expect, his shoulders broader, his presence heavier somehow. It was like I was seeing him for the first time. Though he'd been around for years, I whispered, almost apologetically. I didn't mean to interrupt. My hand still clung to the doorknob, like I needed something solid to anchor me. He gave a small smile, one that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Sorry if I startled you," he said softly, his voice carrying a gentleness that made the air in the room shift. It should have been nothing. Just a moment, insignificant and forgettable. But it didn't feel that way. It felt charged, like electricity in the air before a storm. I told myself to laugh it off, to make some excuse, and walk away. Instead, I lingered, adjusting a blanket that didn't need adjusting, fussing with details so I didn't have to face the truth of why I stayed. And the truth was, I felt something stir inside me, something I hadn't let myself feel in years. Not for him specifically, but for what the moment represented. For the way someone's presence could suddenly make you aware of yourself again. For the way a simple glance could remind you that you were more than the roles you filled every day. More than just a parent, more than just someone getting through the grind of life. That night, I went to bed restless. I lay there with my eyes open, staring into the darkness, the image of his expression etched into my mind. It wasn't that anything happened, it hadn't. It was that I suddenly felt alive in a way I hadn't in so long. And once you feel that spark, it's almost impossible to unfeel it. The next morning, the house was filled with laughter again. My family and our guests sat at the kitchen table, joking, teasing, spilling crumbs across the counter without a care. To anyone else, it was just another ordinary day. But for me, the air felt different. I watched them smiling while catching fleeting moments that spoke of something unspoken. I turned away quickly, burying myself in the small tasks of breakfast, but the awareness lingered. Life went on, of course. Work emails demanded attention. Groceries needed to be bought. Laundry piles never seemed to end. But beneath the rhythm of everyday life, I felt a shift. It was subtle, quiet, yet constant. A current running beneath the surface that I couldn't ignore. That evening, after the house grew still again, I curled up on the couch with a book, though I barely read a single page. My mind was too loud, the questions too insistent. That was when I heard the knock, soft, hesitant. I opened the door, and there he was again. He stood there with uncertainty etched across his face, rubbing the back of his neck like he wasn't sure if he should be there. "Sorry," he murmured. "I didn't mean to bother you." "You're not bothering me," I said, though my voice betrayed more softness than I intended. He stepped inside, cautious, and sat at the far end of the couch. We talked the way people do when they're trying to fill silence with safe words about work, about family, about nothing that really mattered. But beneath every word there was a weight, an unspoken truth neither of us dared to voice. Finally, he looked at me, his eyes steady, his voice quieter than before. "Did I make you uncomfortable last night?" The question hung between us, fragile and heavy all at once. I could have denied it, laughed, brushed it aside. But instead, I shook my head and whispered, "No, you didn't." Relief washed over him, visible in the way his shoulders dropped, in the breath he seemed to release all at once. That small moment of honesty cracked something open inside me, something I hadn't realized I'd been guarding so tightly. From that point on, life felt split in two. There was the world everyone else saw, the normal routines, the laughter, the familiar patterns. And then there was the undercurrent, the quiet awareness that grew stronger each day. It wasn't about rushing into anything. It wasn't about recklessness. It was about presence, about the way someone's attention could remind you that you were still here, still worthy of being seen. And so I found myself in a place I never expected, torn between fear and possibility. Torn between the life I knew and the chance to rediscover the parts of myself I thought I'd lost. Each day brought more questions. Was it wrong to crave connection after so long? Was it selfish to want more when I had responsibilities, when people depended on me? Could I let myself believe that I deserved happiness, even if it came in a form I didn't anticipate? Nights grew longer. Thoughts kept me awake. And yet, even in the uncertainty, one truth remained. For the first time in years, I felt alive. And that's the thing about life, doesn't always hand us easy choices or perfect timing. Sometimes it hands us moments. Moments that shake us awake, that force us to look at ourselves differently. Moments that whisper, "You are still here. You still matter. You still deserve to feel something real." I don't have all the answers. Maybe I never will. But I know this. Those moments changed me. And once you've been changed, you can't go back to being who you were before. The question that lingers, the one I carry with me, simple, yet impossibly complex. When life gives you a chance to feel alive again, do you walk away for the sake of safety? Or do you take the risk knowing it could change everything? That's the question I'm still living with. And maybe that's what makes it powerful, not the answer, but the courage to even ask it.